turn off on sound, show up. Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله. أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله. أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله. حي على الصلاة. حي على الصلاة. حي على الفلاح. حي على الفلاح. الله أكبر، الله أكبر. لا إله إلا الله.
Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله. أشهد أن محمد رسول الله. أشهد أن محمد رسول الله. حي على السلام. حي على السلام. حي على الفلاح. حي على الفلاح. الله أكبر، الله أكبر. لا إله إلا الله.
الحمد لله وكفاء نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونؤمن به ونتوكل عليه ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهدي الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلله فلا هادي له أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له أشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه ومن تبع بالهدى إلى يوم الدين. اللهم أعوذ بك أن أضل أو أضل أو أزل أو أزل أو أظلم أو أظلم أو أجهل أو يجهل عليه. All praise belongs to Allah, and that is enough in itself. We worship Allah, we seek refuge in Him, we seek His forgiveness, we believe in Him, and we put our trust in Him. We seek refuge in Allah from the evil of ourselves and from the evil effects and consequences of what we do. Whomever Allah blesses with guidance, whomever He leads to the truth, to the light, none can misguide him or her. No matter what you say to them, no matter what fitna they encounter in life, they will remain steadfast upon Allah's guidance. However, those poor slaves who reject the truth and whom Allah leads them to stray, no matter what you say, no matter what example you put forth, no matter how you tailor your da'wah, your delivery, no one can guide him or her to the truth. Or as it is said here in the opening, there's no guidance to be found for them. I bear witness that there is nothing worthy of worship other than Allah Azza wa Jal. I bear witness that Muhammad ibn Abdullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam is his servant and his messenger, and he is the seal of the prophets, and whoever makes a claim to prophethood after him is a liar. May the peace and blessings of Allah be upon Muhammad, his family, his companions, and all of those who follow him in guidance until the day of judgment. Ameen. O Allah, I seek refuge in you from being misleading and from being misled, from causing one to stumble and from being made to stumble, from wronging someone or being wronged by another, from being ignorant or being led into ignorance by others. Ameen. قال الله تعالى أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم يا أيها الناس اتقوا ربكم الذي خلقكم من نفس واحدة وخلق منها زوجها وبث منهما رجالا كثيرا ونساء واتقوا الله الذي تساءلون به والأرحام إن الله كان عليكم رقيبا. O you who believe, fear Allah who created you from one nafs or from one person. And from that nafs he created its mate and brought forth from the two of them countless men and women. Fear Allah from whom you demand your mutual rights and respect the wombs that bore you. Verily Allah is a diligent watcher over you. يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون. O you who believe, fear Allah as he should be feared, and do not die except as a Muslim, submitting to his will. يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله وقولوا قولا سديدا يصلح لكم أعمالكم ويغفر لكم ذنوبكم ومن يؤت الله ورسوله فقد فاز فوزا عظيما. O you who believe, fear Allah and always speak a word directly to the point. He will make your conduct whole and sound, and he will forgive you your sins, your wrongdoings. He that obeys Allah and his Prophet have already attained the greatest of rewards. Verily, the best and the truest of speech is the book of Allah. The best of guidance is the guidance of Muhammad. The worst of affairs are the newly invented ones. Every invented matter is heresy, every heresy is misguidance, and every misguidance is in the hellfire. As for what follows, I want to remind the brothers and the sisters and myself that you are required to be on your best behavior during the Jummuah khutbah. You are not to talk to each other, even to the point of correcting your brother or sister who may be in error, so much as to even say shh, shh. You are not to cause two people to divide so that you can take a seat between them. You are not to play with anything while the imam is delivering the khutbah. You should not answer or play with your cell phone, text, update your timeline, Instagram, tweet, etc. And you cannot eat anything. Ibn Abbas radiallahu anhu narrated that the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam is reported to have said, whoever speaks in the Jummuah while the imam is delivering the khutbah is like a jackass who is carrying books, and for he who tells him to be quiet, there will be no reward for his Jumu'ah prayer. And this is related by Ahmed with an acceptable chain of narrators. Abu Hurairah radiallahu anhu narrated that the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alayhi wasallam is reported to have said, whoever performs the ghusl, the full ritual washing of the body, then comes to the Jumu'ah prayer and prays as many rakats as Allah has ordained for him, his sins between this Friday, this present Friday, and the next one will be forgiven, and even sins of 3 days more. And he who touched the pebbles caused an interruption. And this is related by Muslim. And the meaning of he who touched the pebbles here means he who didn't pay attention during the Jumu'ah. He played with things in front of him, and at that time they were on dirt. They weren't on carpets like we are. They were on dirt, and they would play with the pebbles in front of them while the khutbah was going on, and it would cause disruptions. So in the time that we live in, we don't have those things, but we have cell phones, keys, things, and other kind of trinkets. So inshallah ta'ala, I want the brothers and myself, or I remind the brothers and myself, the brothers and the sisters, to preserve your Jumu'ah. Today, inshallah ta'ala, the khutbah, I'd like to concentrate on two separate issues, or two separate texts, but they're interrelated, as we will see as I go on. And as we said in the opening, the best of narrations is the Book of Allah. So the first one will be from the Book of Allah. And then the second part of that is that the best of guidance is the guidance of Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. So in the second piece, or of the two, the second one of the two, I will constantly be talking from a hadith of the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala azza wa jalla says in his book, in Surah Al-Tahrim, ayat 6, أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم يا أيها الذين آمنوا قوا أنفسكم وأهلكم نارا وقودها الناس والحجارة عليها ملائكة غلاظ شديد لا يعصون الله ما أمرهم ويفعلون ما يؤمرون. O you who believe, ward off yourselves and your families against a fire whose fuel is men and stones, over which are appointed guardian angels, stern and severe. They disobey not from executing the commands they receive from Allah, but they do that which they are commanded. And the tafsir of this comes from Ibn Kathir. In his first part, he says that whenever Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala begins anything with the phrase, Ya ayyuhal ladina amanu, O you who believe, it means he is alerting our attention to something important for us to do or important for us to avoid. Ibn Mas'ud has said in reference to this, whenever Allah says, O believers, then raise your hearing, because it is a good you are being commanded to, or a bad you are being told to avoid. The meaning of save yourselves and your families from the fire means turn them away from it, prevent them from it. Sayyidina Ali, radiallahu anhu, in his commentary of this verse, as well as Nadada and Mujahid state, Save yourselves from the fire through your actions. Save your family from the fire through giving them all correct advice and guidance. Bi wasiyatikum. And there are three meanings to the phrase, and save your family from the fire through giving them all correct advice and guidance. And those three things are: one, to command them to obey Allah and to avoid disobeying Him. And this was Hakada's position. Two, to teach them all the obligatory aspects of their religion, as well as to train them with the correct manners and conduct in their lives. And this is Ali's position. And three, to on the one hand teach them the khayr, or the good, and to ensure they are made to live with it, and to clarify what is wrong and bad, so they are ensured to avoid it. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in His book, وَقُودُوهَا النَّاسُ وَالْحِجَارَةُ, whose fuel is men and stones, indicating that the children of Adam, you and I, will be fuel for the fire. We will feed it. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in His book, وَالْحِجَارَةُ, and stones, in reference to the idols that they worship. Just as Allah said in another ayat, إِنَّكُمْ وَمَا تَعْبُدُونَ مِن دُونِ اللَّهِ حَسَبُوا جَهَنَّمَ. Certainly you and that which you used to worship besides Allah will become fuel for the fire. Abdullah ibn Mas'ud, Mujahid, Abu Ja'far, al-Baqir, and as-Suddi said that these are sulfur stones that are more pictured than rotten corpses, according to Mujahid. Allah goes on to say in His ayah, عَلَيْهَا مَلَائِكَةٌ غِلَاظٌ شِدَادٌ, over which are appointed angels, stern and severe, meaning their nature of behavior is stern, because Allah has removed mercy from them. They have no mercy. It has been taken out of their hearts for those who disbelieve in Allah. Shadidun, meaning their structure is powerful, strong, and they're frightening. لا يعصون الله ما أمرهم ويفعلون ما يؤمرون, who disobey not the commands they receive from Allah, but do that which they are commanded. Meaning, whatever Allah commands them, they rush to obey Him without delay or even the twinkling of an eye. They are able to fulfill the command. They are also called az-zabaniyya, meaning the keepers and the guarders of hell. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protect us from this. The Prophet said, or in a narration by Abdullah ibn Umar, radiyallahu anhuma, he says, or the hadith goes, An Abdullah ibn Umar, radiyallahu anhuma, أن رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم قال ألا كلكم راع وكلكم مسؤول عن رعيتي فالإمام الذي على الناس راع وهو مسؤول عن رعيته ورجل راع على أهل بيته وهو مسؤول عن رعيته والمرأة راعية على أهل بيت زوجها وولده وهي مسؤولة عنهم وأبد الرجل راع على ما سيدي وهو مسؤول عنه ألا فكلكم ألا فكلكم راع وكلكم مسؤول عن رعيته. The Prophet ﷺ is reported to have said, Abdullah ibn Umar reported that the Messenger of Allah ﷺ said, Are not all of you shepherds, and every one of you will be called to answer for that which he was a shepherd over. We read that again. The Prophet said, are not all of you, every one of you, a shepherd? And therefore every one of you will be called to account for that which he was a shepherd over. The Imam is the leader of the people and is a guardian and is responsible for his subjects. A man is the guardian of his family and he is responsible for them. A woman is the guardian of her husband's home and his children, and she is responsible for them. The servant of a man is the guardian of the property of his master, and he is responsible for it. And then he closes by saying again, every one of you is a shepherd, and every one of you will be called to answer for that which he was a shepherd over. And this hadith is in Sahih Bukhari, and it's in the chapter of the sayings of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and obey Allah and obey the messenger and obey those in the command over you. And this is hadith number 6719. This hadith is also in Sahih Muslim, and it is in the chapter on the book of Amara, the chapter of the virtues of the just Imam and unjust punishment, and the urging of mercy upon the community, and the forbidding of introducing hardships upon them. Hadith number 1829. Very important hadith, because this hadith, in conjunction with the first ayahs that I read, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says to warn us to protect yourself and your family from the fire, these go hand in hand, because the Prophet brings to light and he clarifies what we are responsible for in this life. And he starts from the Imam and he goes all the way down to the slave. And in there he counts us, the men, and he also counts the women. The first mention in this hadith is the Imam of the people. The responsibility towards leadership is not a one-way street. The leader has the responsibility of looking out for the welfare of the members of his community, to act wisely, to judge fairly without bias. It is no wonder that it is reported in another hadith that the Imams will be raised on the day of judgment and be reckoned in chains. And thus, the people are obliged to follow and support his leadership. Next, the Prophet ﷺ mentions the man and his responsibility over the people of his household, meaning that he is responsible for providing for the necessary needs of his family and supporting them with that which will keep them happy and successful in this world as well as in the hereafter. Thus referring back to the ayat of Allah Azza wa Jal, save yourselves and your families from the fire, to the end of the ayat. Not only does he provide them with that which is necessary, but he grants them that which is virtuous and prohibits for them from engaging in harmful deeds. From the greatest responsibilities which he is entrusted with is he upholds the prayer, and he is consistent in it, in his household and in his everyday actions. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in his book, by way of translation, and enjoin a salat on your family and be patient in offering them. We ask not of you a provision, we provide for you. And the good end is for the muttaqun. The muttaqun. And this is Surah Al-Taha, ayat 132. All of us who have children ought to be alert and pay attention to these warnings. Because in this day and time we live in, it is not politically correct to invade our children's privacy. However, or in other cases, it is commonplace for us, the Muslims, to push our children to other worldly pursuits. It is the time we live in, it is common to place or turn a blind eye to what our children may be involved in. And we see this every day, especially in the news, especially when you have these situations where you have these mass shootings. And all the time, these guys been home preparing for this stuff, and their parents, they just been turning a blind eye to it. They haven't been paying attention to it. you know. And then sometimes we realize the things that our children may be involved in, and we don't give them any type of direction or nasiha or even warn them. Or in other cases, it's commonplace for us what I'm saying. But what I am saying, suggesting is that we sometimes lack balance in our approach. You know, you go to some of these fields on Saturdays and you see the Muslim sisters out there with their children, and there's abundance of them. You know, football, soccer, all these types of things. But when you come to the masjid, they're not there. They're not there. It's not a criticism. This is an advice, because this is part of saving yourselves and your children from the fire. How many of us also supplement these urgings with the teaching of the deen? How many times, how do we supplement this, even if we have a class at home and we teach our children, we sit down with them and we go over the basis of this deen, things about purity, things of that nature. How many of us take into account the involvement of the shaitan in our everyday actions? Because it's not like he's not there. He's there every day. He attacks our children just like he attacks us. He attacks our children, he attacks our women, he attacks everything, because he is a hater of mankind. If you look through the Quran, you'll find that one of the stories that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions often, very, very often, is that shaitan is an enemy to you. Treat him like that. You know, in different ways he delivers the meeting between, or the situation that occurred between Adam and the shaitan. And how the shaitan vowed that, hey, I'm not bowing down to him, man. Yeah, I made a fire, man. This dude's made of clay. You know what I mean? And then he threatened him. He said, I will wait on Allah's straight path for you, your children, your progeny, and I will mislead you from your front, from your back, from your side, from your top, from your bottom. He will come at us in every way. How are we protecting our children from the shaitan? Have we taught them the dua of protection? Have we taught them the swords of protection so that they memorize these and they use them daily? Do we use them daily? Because this is the only formula that protects us from the devil. And this is what the Prophet said. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said. The Prophet has said that the only protection from a shaitan is with Allah. That's the only protection. You can't outsmart him. You know what I'm saying? You can't bribe him. You can't do none of that. None of that's going to work. None of that's going to work. It ain't working. The only thing that will stop him is these du'as, the swords of protection, and good behavior. That is it. If we fail to take heed, ya ikhwan, we risk the threat of our children being duped by the shaitan and facing punishment and destruction in the hereafter. For remember again that in the end of this thing, in the end, we will all face death. All of us will face death. None of us will escape. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in his book, he says that the angel of death has been made a wakil over you. That's what Allah says. He says the angel of death has been made a wakil over you. And what is a wakil? Brother Muhammad, he's a wakil of the masjid. Cleans up the masjid, picks up dirt. You know what I'm saying? Make sure everything is ready, spotless. The angel of death is the wakil over our souls. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that he will collect you and return you to us. SubhanAllah. So in the end, brothers and sisters, we will all face death and we will return to the one who created us and all of this from the beginning. Those of us who fall short of fulfilling our responsibilities, we will be held responsible with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and indeed Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is not unjust to his servants. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that he is not just, but they were unjust to themselves. As for the women, the Prophet says, he brings up the same situation with them, in that they have responsibilities and they will be called to answer for their responsibilities. So the same applies to you as it applies to men. There's a saying in this deen that the mother is the first mudaris. The mother is the first teacher or instructor. That is the saying in this deen. If you read the seerah of some of the most renowned leaders and scholars of the Salaf, you find mention of the influences of their mothers over their upbringing. It is written that Imam Shafi'i memorized the Quran at home. He memorized the Quran at home, and when he finished, his mother wrapped a turban on his head and sent him to the masjid to study with the sheikhs. And look at the benefit that we had from that act. Look at the benefit that we had. One of the most renowned scholars, he has his own method that we follow. And he's taking, his method is based on the two methods that came before him, Abu Hanifa and Imam Malik. And he brought them together and he reorganized it, or what they call sensitized it, and then brought forth his own method. How much of that did we benefit from does his mother get? How much of that? Because remember, whatever you do that is good and it benefits the people, you get a piece and they get a piece for their acts without diminishing the reward of either one. So how much benefit did his ummi get from that? SubhanAllah. Shaykh al-Islam Ibn Taymiyyah, may Allah have mercy on him. There was a book, and it wasn't written by him, but it was written by those who came after him. And it was a book of his letters he wrote from prison. Because if you know the seerah of Ibn Taymiyyah, he spent time in prison. When he wasn't doing jihad, and he wasn't writing books. You know, he was either writing books or he was in jihad. And other than that, he was in jail. Okay? That's what his life was about. Okay? And he writes about his mother in one of his letters, or a couple of his letters, and he thanks her for her influence over him in pushing him to learn and study his lessons and memorize the Quran. This is what his mom did for him, his mother did for him. And this is why the title comes that the mother, the woman is the first mudarisa. She is the first instructor. So sisters, pay heed to that. Take advantage of that situation and instruct your kids at the basis of this deen. Inshallah ta'ala. And you get benefit. You get benefit. And in this hadith, the Prophet warns that the women also will be questioned about that which fell under your watch. If we as parents raise our children to the extent of our ability and they still fall into the path of misguidance, then indeed, inshallah, we are free of blame. No bearer of burdens can bear or is responsible for the burdens of another. Let us remember and ponder the story of Nuh, alayhi salam, subhanAllah. When he had warned his people for 950 years and his son lived in his household. Remember, his son lived with him. His son was part of his family. So he got the message, he heard the message. And when he told him, he said, look, it's about to be some real, this thing about to go down. It's about to jump off. And he said, nah, I'm cool, man. I'm going to go to a mountain, man. I'm cool. I'm cool. I'm going to get to the highest mountain and I'm going to be all right. No, there's no refuge on this day except right here on this thing right here. And his son didn't listen to him and he died with the unbelievers. He drowned with the unbelievers. And though, of course, he was a father, you know, this was his son. He felt something for that. And he asked Allah, you know, my son. And Allah said, that's not your family, man. Your family is the believers. SubhanAllah, it's a hard lesson, but we need to pay attention. You know, we need to pay attention because just because we believe and do righteousness and believe in this thing that we're involved in doesn't mean that it passes through our genes. It don't happen like that. Every man is responsible for himself. And you will be paid back for what you do individually. Every man and woman. And we live in a society today. This society that we live in, America, the Western world, they don't believe that. Everything that they do in this society, everything, pay attention to it. Everything is designed so that you can have fun. Everything. And it's getting, I mean, everything. The conveniences that we have, the conveniences are so that you ain't got to do all that work. So what that do? It cut down the time so you can have fun, man. You can have some fun. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in his book, in many places, that he has not created the heavens and the earth and everything in between them for fun and jest or for a pastime. That's what he says. But these people, they don't believe in that. So you can't follow them. We have to protect ourselves from the da'wah that they give. And it's consuming, it's overwhelming. You turn on the TV and you watch for a half an hour. Out of that 30 minutes, you can watch 15 minutes of commercials. Drugs, beer, wine, this, that, vacations, fun, having fun. It's all about having fun. Living life to its fullest. We hear that term all the time. What does it mean? Living life to its fullest. Think about that. Because when you in the hole, when we're in the hole in the ground, none of that don't mean nothing. It don't mean nothing. It don't mean nothing. The only thing that means something is what we did. And whether we can answer them questions. Allah, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protect us. Ameen. وقولي قولي هذا واستغفر الله لي ولكم ولا اله الا انت استغفرك واتوب اليك. الحمد لله حمدا كثيرا طيبا مباركا فيه. So, brothers and sisters, in summarizing, pay attention to the ayats of Allah, where He asks us to protect ourselves and our families from the fire. And really think about what that means. Because in the environment that we live in, it's easy to find your way to the fire. It's easy. Everything is set up for you. You know, and at the base of all of this, never forget, at the base of all of this is the shaitan. If you read the Quran and you go back to what he said that he would do this. But we don't pay attention. Not we, most people. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he says that most people are oblivious to this. But the Muslims, Allah has warned us, he's told us. You know, so we have to seek refuge in Allah and seek protection from the shaitan. Because he is skilled at misleading you. I remember a class I had years ago at the Islamic Center of Philadelphia. There was a sheikh there, a brother by the name of Dr. Omar Abdullah. And he was giving a class on Al-Ghaib, the unseen. And the class went a few weeks, and in this particular section, he was talking about the meaning of the shaitan. And he said, look, understand something. The shaitan, he can't read what's in your heart. He can't read your mind. He can't do that. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has exempted him from death. That was the respite that he asked for, and Allah gave it to him. Think about that. Now, however long ago that was, in the meeting in the garden with Adam and Allah and the angels, from that point to this day, to this minute here, he has been exempted from death. So the Sheikh said, he said that over that time he has become wise, skilled, and a lot of times he determines how to attack you from what you say and do. He listens to what you say, he watches what you do, and then he attacks you. And nothing escapes that. He has minions all over. The Prophet said, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that he has children. He has progeny. And they all take a part in this. All right, so understand something, that he is skilled in attacking you and nothing is hidden. So all of your Facebook, all of your tweets, all of your Instagram, all of those things you say in secret, Allah, he's listening. Or he got somebody listening. And we know the hadith of the Prophet where he says there's a time when they all come back to him. and they report in to the shaitan. And the one who has destroyed the relationship between a man and his wife, he brings him closest. So I'm only saying this to say this is a reminder for you and I. This is a reminder for you and I, inshallah ta'ala, that we learn the dua, that we learn the ayat, what Allah has given us, what His Prophet has recommended. The best of narrations is the Kitab of Allah. And the best of guidance is the guidance of Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Other than that, there's no refuge. قال الله تعالى أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما. Verily Allah and His angels send salutations upon the Prophet. O you who believe, send ye peace and salutations upon him also. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما صليت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد. اللهم بارك على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما باركت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم في العالمين إنك حميد مجيد. O Allah, send salutations upon Muhammad and the family of Muhammad as you send salutations upon Ibrahim and his family. Verily, you are praiseworthy and glorified. O Allah, send blessings upon Muhammad and the family of Muhammad, just as you have blessed Ibrahim and his family. Verily, you are the praiseworthy and the glorified. Ameen.
الله أكبر الله أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله حي الصلاة حي الفلاح قد قامت الصلاة قد قامت الصلاة الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله.
Those Fufukum brothers and sisters, if you got a cell phone in your pocket, please turn it off or put it on vibrate. Please. We don't want to be interrupted by the latest tune or a ringtone or something of that nature, inshallah ta'ala. So please take the time to do that. It's beneficial. I mean. Allahu Akbar. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. سبح اسم ربك الأعلى الذي خلق فسوى والذي قدر فهدى والذي أخرج المرعى فجعله غثاء أحوى سنكرمك فلا تنسى إلا ما شاء الله إنه يعلم جهر وما يخفى ونيسرك لليسرى فذكر إن نفعت الذكرى سيذكر من يخشى ويتجنبها الأشقى الذي يصلى النار الكبرى ثم لا يموت فيها ولا يحيا قد أفلح من تزكى وذكر اسم ربه فصلى بل تؤثرون الحياة الدنيا والآخرة خير وأبقى إن هذا لفي الصحف الأولى صحف إبراهيم وموسى. الله أكبر. سمع الله لمن حمده ربنا الله أكبر. الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. والعصر إن الإنسان لفي خسر إلا الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات وتواصوا بالحق وتواصوا بالصبر. الله أكبر. سمع الله لمن حمده ربنا. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله الله أكبر. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله.